everybody get to timestamp 0 in 3, 2, 1, go. And it's funny because this is always a season when I'm just thinking about it. I'm like, oh, this one's kind of boring. And then I watch and I'm like, what am I talking about? This isn't boring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the stuff I remember more from this season every time I watch it is more than the first half. With
well, and
the
it's also that struggle with the first season, right, where you start to become more accustomed to the later seasons and like characters that you like that maybe aren't there yet. So going back, it all feels very stripped down, which isn't always a bad thing. But I think, especially like sometimes with sitcoms, it's harder to go back to early seasons before characters change and progress, or the show hasn't found itself.
Oh yeah, you see that a lot.
Or sometimes it found itself and then loses itself later. Have you watched The Good Place?
I haven't. My mom watched it. She really liked it.
Best sitcom in the last decade.
I don't think she loved the ending. That's a show I think she liked the earlier seasons more than the later ones, but I've mostly heard that show had a solid run.
You have to be okay with a sad ending. It is probably not a feel-good ending.
That's probably it. It's also unfortunate that like I know the twist, so I don't know how long.
I will just tell you, if you only know the you know the twist there in The Bad Place, you don't know nothing. So that is the season 1 twist at the end of the season. You still have there's 4 seasons. It goes places. This is going to be the theater episode.
Oh yeah. But like this stuff, the stuff with them in this episode, I think is really intense situation.
I'm going to get into my big complaint with it later. Because this is the main episode in this season where I think they really have to force things because they want you as the audience to be rooting for her and Jonathan.
Yeah, but I mean, Steve does cross a line.
Okay, we'll get there. We're building it up, Robert. We're building it up. Stranger Things.
Ooh.
I think the only one of these I'm not looking forward to is season 2, just for those first few episodes.
I don't have a problem with the start of that season.
I just don't want to watch the Halloween episode again. I hate it.
I like the stuff with the kids. Well, the stuff I like in season 2 early on, like the Halloween episodes, is the stuff with Mike and Will, and Mike being really attached and protective of Will. And then in the later seasons, Mike is a really shitty friend.
That's just part of growing up.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I don't necessarily agree with Mike in season 3, but we'll get to it. But I don't think Will is any more in the right. Yeah, so like I said, I'm not saying that what he does is right, but also you have to remember it was the 80s. Like, we had a different view on some of that sort of things. This is not okay.
The right thing to do is to fucking talk to her about it and confront her before slut shaming her to the entire community. Like, that's obviously not how you handle that situation. It's like what you do is you confront her and say, "Hey, either we're breaking up or
So,
explain
like
it."
how
And
Nancy
if I
should
think you're
have
like,
told him, "Hey, I can't really do this right now." Like,
but it's only been a few days. Like she wasn't like trying to be. She wasn't trying to be mean. She was just like, "Yeah, I don't need this right now." And yeah, Steve just saw something and is jumping to conclusions. But it's like, yeah, and then you confront her about it. No, this
I know.
is
I think it's pretty
Steve's
shitty to
lowest
blow
point.
off your boyfriend to run off with some other guy in the woods.
He's jumping to conclusions.
I mean,
But
and
even
I'm not
even if
saying he's
you
not,
agree
but
that
that's
it's
also
shitty,
on her.
oh, but she doesn't deserve. Like they weren't doing anything.
Say what he's doing, what he does is correct. I'm just saying it's
Yeah.
bullshit that he gets 100% of the blame when it's just as much her fault for not communicating with him.
I think that's a stretch. He takes it really fucking far for what he assumed.
Yeah, if you hear from your girlfriend for at least a couple days,
I wouldn't.
and you catch her in her bedroom with a towel around her.
I wouldn't publicly humiliate her. I wouldn't do that. No, like I said, I think that's where he crosses the line and fucks up. Like we already established, like I think he was completely justified to smash Jonathan's camera. Like that, I think was fair to do in that situation. But then if he started parading around or involving the community or telling other people about it, then I'd say that's also crossing the line. Because it's
And I'm not saying that
nobody
he's not
else's fucking
crossing a
business.
line, but I
I
also
just
think that she's being inappropriate here. She has a boyfriend.
like I don't think this is inappropriate at all. Oh, we're gonna disagree hard on this if you have an issue with this scene. She's fucking traumatized, like she's terrified. Like nothing intimate happens here, like sexually or romantically. Like she's fucking terrified, and she has no one else to confide in right now. Like this is really scary.
Which is not true because she doesn't. She has steam. She just doesn't try. Like I think that's my biggest issue is she makes zero effort and then gets mad when he jumps to his own conclusions.
But what she's supposed to do right now, like sneak out and go to his place, or call him and get him to sneak in
Yes, because
here.
no
Like,
teenager has ever sneaked out and went to somebody else's house.
but like I'm not gonna criticize her for not being like rational or whatever. Like she's
And I
it's a
don't know.
very
Maybe I'm
weird
just old
situation.
fashioned, but I don't. As if I had a girlfriend, I don't know if I'd be comfortable with her sharing a bed with another guy. I don't care the circumstances.
There's clearly nothing intimate going on. And now in season 2, that's a different conversation. But here
We'll
it's
get to that conversation.
purely because
Okay,
she's
so
terrified.
if you were dating a girl, you would let her sleep in the same bed as another guy. Just sleep.
It's not up to me. She's her own person. I can't let
Okay,
in this
maybe let,
situation.
but you would.
Let,
Okay, sorry. Let is the wrong word. Obviously, we don't control other people. You would be comfortable with it.
I don't know if I'd be comfortable with it, but it would depend on the circumstances. You know, something I'd keep an eye on, but I wouldn't jump to conclusions or slut shame her publicly.
That person is the same person that took photos of your girlfriend in her underwear.
Okay, so if you want to find a common ground, if Steve is gonna act out and do something irrational or extreme, the person he should be targeting is Jonathan. I'm not even saying I agree with that behavior, but that's who he should be going after.
And I don't disagree, but I also think it's that 80s, like, the girl is the one that usually gets the blame in those situations. Mm-hmm. Not saying it is correct. I disagree with you. Not saying that it is correct or she's deserved.
Equal blame. We're not going to agree on that because he jumped to conclusions and then slut shamed her to the entire community. That's obviously really wrong and fucked up. He felt hurt. He felt betrayed and should have confronted her or Jonathan or both about it. But like, or broke it up with her or whatever. But that's still, you don't need to involve the rest of the community in that. Like, it's nobody else's fucking business.
I don't know. I think you can admit he was wrong, but also admit that he got to that point because of her actions.
I think that's a bit of a leap because I
Because
don't
the
think she was
show
being that overtly
establishes.
cruel.
I don't think it doesn't have to be intentional, but again, the only things he knows is she blew him off, and the next time he sees her, she's cuddling in her bed with another guy.
But she didn't even like blow him off though. Like he went to confront
Yeah.
her and then was like, "Hey, let's go see a movie." And then she said no. Like that's not
Which is
blowing
kind
him
of
off.
blowing him off.
She just needs space.
Even he feels like she did because she won't call him back, she won't talk to him.
Also, like her fucking best friend is missing. Like this is a tense, weird situation, you know. And again, these are teenagers. Like they're not gonna behave super rationally or
And I don't
think
expect
ahead.
them
Like
to, but I think as an audience we can admit that they're both in the wrong here.
I'm not saying that Nancy's hasn't made mistakes. I just think where she did more fucked up shit to me was like how she treated Barb, you know. But here, like I said, she's not like intentionally harming Steve or you know whatever. Like it's just not on her mind, which I think is fair. Again, I'm not saying she's not making mistakes, but in no world do I think she deserves equal blame for.
And
I'm not blaming. I'm not gonna victim blame her for getting slut shamed to the whole community when we know that she didn't actually.
I think you are confusing the actions with the consequences. I am not saying she deserved it. I am saying her actions led as much to what happened as anyone else's. It is just as much her duty to be open and communicative with her boyfriend as it is his job to communicate with her. It is a two-way street.
Well, and she feels like she has, but like I don't know.
Has she?
Yeah, because she already talked to him about like the thing she saw, and then he didn't believe her, which we already talked about that.
Which
You know,
then that isn't. But that also isn't fair for her to hold against him. Like, oh, I didn't believe you that you saw a man with no face.
She just doesn't know how to communicate this stuff to him. You know, as opposed to Jonathan, who is going through what she's going through.
See, I think the show throws Steve under the bus here. It just it wants you to root for these two.
Like if you're talking about the writing, like that's a different conversation. I don't know if the show needs to go this far with what Steve does, but I'm just saying that like he absolutely deserves to, you know, be punished for or face repercussions.
Hey, welcome in, Charlotte. And I'm not saying he doesn't. I just think this show wants to do the thing where, oh, you're supposed to think that Steve is wrong for her and that she should really be with Jonathan. But it sacrifices character to get to that point, which is what irritates me.
But then we flip back and get more of his growth though. Like we've still seen like shades of those negative traits with Steve. You know, he's had a couple of not great moments. You know, he just hasn't done the super shitty thing yet. But then his redemption in the last couple episodes is so good and so palpable that I think it's worth it. That he owns up to what he did and then makes up for it. You know?
I just think it's silly that that he's the only one that gets any blame. Like again, relationships are two-way streets. If he's going to get blamed, then it should be 50-50.
But she didn't actually cheat on it.
I mean,
if you and your significant other are miscommunicating and they make an assumption about you and then put that shit all over the internet and accuse you of a thing that you didn't do, I don't think you're
I don't agree with the fact that because one party does something extreme that it suddenly absolves the other party of any guilt in the issue.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's fair. I don't disagree with that.
And like I said, personally, I would not be comfortable with my partner sharing a bed with another dude. I don't care what the situation is. And again, I cannot
But when he
emphasize
saw
this
them, they're
enough.
just sitting together.
And
Like,
again, cannot emphasize this enough. The same dude that took pictures of them in their underwear.
yeah, which is why he should confront Jonathan about it instead of slut shaming Nancy to the whole community. Like,
Well, and to be fair though, I have always felt like, and this is me kind of, I guess, imprinting something on the show. That is Carol and whatever that kid's name is, his friends, kind of urging him to do that.
yeah. Well, again, they're the toxic part of his life, and even though we've seen Steve usually perform well, like it's still there's still not a good influence on him. Like it's still a crowd he behaves differently around and shouldn't be with. And then by the end of the season, he finally cuts out. And so again, like that's why I'm not as mad as you are about how this stuff plays out in this episode, because the redemption we get with Steve and the last couple episodes is so good. So in the long run,
Yeah, but I also, we'll get to it more in season 2, but it ultimately ends up being for almost nothing. What does he redeem himself for? It to get his heart broken again? To get cheated on?
No, I'm talking about him as a person, not his relationship or life.
Yeah, what is his reward? To get shit on some more.
No, but he becomes a better person. He hangs out with Dustin. Like, we see him continue to grow. Like, he becomes better. That's what we love about him.
Yeah, I don't like the road that we take to get there, is all I'm saying. I think he deserves better.
Well, he shouldn't have slut shamed her to an entire community.
She shouldn't have cheated on him.
She hasn't yet.
I mean, there is such thing as emotionally cheating.
Well, God, it's case by case. He jumped to a conclusion, and I don't care. Like, look, if I was in a relationship with someone who I found out cheated on me, I'd be very angry and upset. I would still like to think I'd have the self control to not put that shit online and make that public. Like, that's still a private.
But you also have to
it
remember
depends on
that
the situation.
That stuff, I don't want to say it was acceptable, but I feel like it was more common in the 80s where you would just go and do something stupid, especially because the 80s were still very much like the women were at fault for anything that happened. It wasn't the men, you know what I mean? I'm not excusing it. In fact, I do agree that it's not okay. But I think it is a believable, like, I can track the course of events that got him to that place.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not criticizing the writing. It's like, yeah, that's
I have issues with the alley scene, but we'll get there. See, and like now the kid stuff isn't that interesting. I don't care about them bickering.
Mm-hmm. But this is where we're gonna get one of those good Lucas moments, though, where he goes out on his own and he gets his Rambo suit up.
Does he do the Rambo thing here?
I think it's here. I think it's coming up.
God, remember coin laundromats?
Oh God. Oh, this is a great scene when she just robs the store. It's like, fuck you. Give me all your waffles.
Funnily enough, I have done something like this. I accidentally, not like to the degree she does it, but as a kid, I didn't understand that a barcode meant you had to pay for something. So I just grabbed a muffin and left.
Did it set anything off, or
nope?
Did you get away with it?
I didn't know anything until I got in the car and was like, "Did you pay for that?" I was like 5 or 6. It's like,
what?
I thought it was free.
That's funny.
So these are my drink of choice. It's like carbonated flavored water. 70 cents at Walmart. And this one's black cherry. Although it's really bullshit when Walmart will sell, like, I'll pick up, because I like specific flavors. And Walmart will be like, well, we're out of those. I don't believe you, but whatever. Here's as many as you ordered in a completely different flavor that you've never tried before. Hope you like it. Oh my god. So what I find interesting with this is because it's like sense deprivation. I do you know about like hyperbaric chambers, right? For like wound patients, which is kind of what this is, but with water. My dad used to have to go into a hyperbaric chamber for
Oh wow.
Cancer stuff
Damn.
because they had to do like skin grafts and shit.
Jesus.
One of the freakiest things in my entire life is after one of his surgeries, they had to do an entire skin graft here, and he had like holes in the skin graft.
Oof.
And I suffer really bad from that tryptophobia. I have discovered. Can't do it. I can't look at a picture that has a bunch of holes all close together. It makes my spine crawl.
Ugh.
I couldn't look at him until it healed.
What a shitty tiny town this is when they don't even have a security guard. Where he sees this clearly homeless looking child, and his instinct is call the police. It's like you don't have one guard that can grab her.
I mean, check your privilege, Mr. California, but most grocery stores here don't have guards.
But there's also a contrast though between him and like Benny, who we saw at the diner, where like his first instinct of this homeless looking child taking waffles is call the police.
Yeah.
Like, no, fuck that guy. That
like
guy
around here, the only place that I've seen have guards is like Walmart, like a big branch.
Mm.
You go into like a smaller grocery store, most you're gonna find is a like 80-year-old man that just checks your receipt when you're leaving.
Mm-hmm.
A small that looked more like a mom and pop grocery store. Well, they don't exist anymore, but when they did, you're not going to find security there. And this is the woman that they think is Elle's mom in season 2, right?
Yes, and it is.
They waste a lot. They devote a lot of time to that subplot.
I think some of it works. The problem is it just leads to that subplot where Elle runs away. Which again, I get what it's going for her character, for her journey. Like I like that we took her on that journey, but I don't know if we need to spend a whole episode on it.
A waste of time. That's going to be the slog episode of next season when we do that.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. Like I've never hated that episode. It would rank pretty low for me, but I also don't hate it.
It probably will help that we're just talking over it. Okay, you're right. He does get the Rambo thing here. I forgot about that. Robert loves Rambo, folks.
Ew.
Oh god, I actually opened Discord and just the thumbnail of that singing video that I sent you is creepy.
It's probably creepier than anything that's supposed to be scary in that show.
So many things are having anniversaries this year. It's crazy. Oh, they finally showed off the steelbook artwork for that Nightmare on Elm Street 4K. I don't know if you saw it. I'll find it here. Hold on.
I think I saw the post about it, but I didn't actually look to see what it looked like.
I've got the photo here. I'll send it to you.
Nice. Oh, I think I saw your post about the Saw one. That's what I saw.
Oh yeah, I've been trying to get to get more short content out on the channel. So I've been either on my lunch break or on my last break highlighting a piece of my physical media collection. The normal 4K just looks really bland, so I'm hoping to get that steelbook.
Yeah, I do agree though that even though we're this late in the season, like it does feel like things have slowed down a little too much.
Yeah.
You know, we haven't gotten back to like the really great stuff.
Yeah.
But also as someone who's slightly claustrophobic, this sounds horrifying to me. I
As
don't want to be
someone as someone who gets panic attacks if water gets too close to my eyes, no thank you.
Oh god.
I don't know what it is. I have never been able to shake it. I start hyperventilating. I get headaches if
Oof,
water gets anywhere near my eyes.
Jesus.
It feels like I'm drowning.
Oof.
It's awful. Remember Stephen King?
And maybe that's the problem with some of that season 2 stuff. Like I like seeing Elle reconnect with her mom. Like I think that's important. But we also don't learn a lot of information there that we didn't already have here. Like we don't have all the details, but like we get the gist of what happened, right?
It's really just her playing catch up to the audience.
Hmm.
Well, and I also just have questions about how she survives the end of this.
Who, her mom?
Because the ending of this plays like a self-sacrifice that she should have died in.
Oh, you mean the season?
Yeah. And then the big reveal in season 2 is that she didn't actually die.
Yeah, she just went in the upside down.
I'm used to it
Again,
with this show at this point.
right.
Literally
Well,
nobody
but
can die. They just do sex machina them back to life.
well, it's so weird because one of the big like clues that she's still alive, or like the kind of sequel tease to season 2, as we'll see later, is when Hopper leaves the waffles in the woods. So it feels like there's something going on there, like oh, Eleven might be alive, and then in season 2 we find out like it's entirely coincidental that she sees him doing that. Like it's pure luck, like it's just random chance. Where it's like, yeah, I guess I'll put waffles in the woods because I think she liked waffles. Where it's like, oh, that's what was going on? I thought there was more to that. So that's a little awkward. Like it's a little clunky.
Okay. I don't want to complain about realism because I hate when people do that. Don't they have to have an ID for any of this?
I would guess. I mean, they might have. He might have a driver's license. Like, no, he definitely has a driver's license by this point. Um,
Yeah, but I would
or
think
maybe
you'd still have to be
that,
like 18 with a license with an ID.
it was the '80s. I don't know. I wasn't there.
I don't want to make that as a complaint because, like I said, I hate when people like that's not realistic. Who cares? I think. Oh boy, here we go. Did she see that from all the way down there? Like,
Well, she knew to check out the movie theater. And yeah, this is just the humiliating and horrible thing for. And she's so oblivious. Like, she doesn't know that Steve was just there at her house. Like, this completely blindsides her. And of course, everyone else is just the worst and will assume, like, oh, yeah, like, totally. Like, of course she did it, and she didn't. And yeah, you're right. Like, Steve's friends are definitely kind of egging on more to do this. You know, like, they are that bad influence in his life that he needs to cut out, which he does after, you know. But she is trying to be honest with him. Like, she's not saying, like, no, he wasn't there. Like, she's trying to tell him what was going on.
yeah, but then he asks her to finish it, and she just doesn't. Like, again, it's because she won't communicate.
Okay, and this is Steve goes too far here.
He does.
He keeps pushing this. Yeah, that's crossing the line, Steve. He
But
was
I
asking
like it in terms of he's kind of self-destructing right now. Like, he's mad.
Yeah.
Nancy won't tell him what's going on. My only complaint with this is I don't believe for a second that this is such a one-sided fight as they portray it as.
Oh, what do you mean?
Like, after a certain point, it's like I don't believe that Jonathan gets the upper hand this easily.
Oh, I disagree. Jonathan's just a much tougher kid. He's been through shit. Like, nah, I buy this.
Okay, so here's my big complaint.
Steve has probably never been in a fight in his life.
Oh, I don't buy that for a second.
Really?
King Steve of high school, supposed to be the bully, he's never been in a fight.
I don't know if he has the reputation of a bully. He's the cool kid. He's the popular kid.
Okay, so I'm going to complain about this. Again, I get that she's upset about what Steve did, but instead of trying to go, communicate with him, with the guy that she supposedly likes that just got his ass kicked, she stays with the weird kid again.
Nah, I buy it. It's not just about the relationship drama. It's also about the shit going on with Will and Barb.
And I understand that.
I understand why Jonathan's the one she's going to be sticking with right now. I get it.
I don't know.
She's not in the mood. Like, this whole situation's fucked. She's confused. She's angry. She's sad. She doesn't feel like going to see Steve right now to try to mend this or fix this. Like, there are other more important things to focus on. She's got to be with Jonathan to take care of this shit and then try to get back to their plan of hunting a Demogorgon, which is what they do.
I don't know. I feel like that goes a little too far in the see Steve's a douchebag. She sees it now.
That's not how I read it at all. I just don't think she's interested in.
It's frustrating because at this point you need to have a fucking conversation, but they keep finding excuses not to.
But like, there's really fucking pressing matters here, man.
What is he gonna do while he's in jail?
Like, talk to the police, figure this shit out, and then she has to be with Jonathan after this.
Does
to go hunt a Demogorgon.
Or here's an idea.
I don't remember the steps.
I don't remember. I'm watching it kind of as I figure out. Wouldn't this be the opportune time to go, hey, there's a monster out there. Jonathan's in jail. I need help. I can prove it.
She doesn't know who to bring that to right now. I don't know.
I would buy it a lot more that she can't trust Steve if she had tried it all. All she tried was saying,
tried a little bit.
all she has done is said there was a man with no face at your house that night. He's supposed to believe that?
Well, and he was initially just not concerned with Barb, and then which he later apologized for, but at that point her mind was elsewhere. She's not like she just doesn't care right now. Like there's more pressing shit that's on her mind. Like she's not thinking, "Oh, this is a good time to go try to patch up my relationship." Like there's other shit going on that's more important.
I don't know. I think at some point you would think, oh, maybe I should clue him into what's going on. We might need backup.
But Jonathan just beat the shit out of him. I don't know why she'd think that Steve would be their backup. I don't know. And as I keep saying, like, these are teenagers. They're not going to behave entirely rationally. And look, it's the evil Stephen police.
I think my problem with that is she doesn't start acting irrationally until the script needs her to.
I don't know. She's been pretty frazzled this whole season. Ever since Barb disappeared, she's been pretty frazzled. And didn't entirely know how to go about this.
But I also think some of that is that leftover from where Steve was supposed to be the bad guy.
But with the final cut as is, though, I'm still not watching this like, oh, she saw him for who he is. Like, I, the audience member, am supposed to hate Steve. It's like, no, I can see both sides.
I think it really comes off
situation.
That way. I think the show is really one-sided as to who you're supposed to root for. And then out of nowhere, he gets the redemption at the end.
But I don't think it's out of nowhere. Like, we've seen those positive traits throughout where he'll do a bad thing, but then he'll backtrack. Or we'll see how he's a better person when he's outside of that circle.
But what bad thing did he do outside of... Like, I don't even think him disbelieving her was all that bad. Like, that was just a teenager thing.
Yeah, but when she first goes to him about Barb being missing, and like he's more concerned about getting in trouble for having a party, you know, like, yeah, that's
what I'm saying. Like, how is that bad? Like,
no, it's selfish. That's pretty shitty boyfriend behavior. But then like there's just stuff like at the party where like we talked about this, how like he's putting on an act, like he does behave differently and more aggressively when he's around those people than when he's just with Nancy.
Well, and it was also important to note that he wasn't doing any of the graffitiing, at least in the scene that we saw.
Yeah, but he was going along with it. I mean, like, come on.
No, I'm just saying. I think that's important to note.
Yeah, so this scene...
I think the show is above how one-dimensional they try to force some of these dynamics to be.
I think all the Steve stuff tracks. Like his negative traits and his positive traits.
No, I think Steve tracks. What doesn't track is the show has to keep finding excuses for him to be out of the loop until the finale.
No, that all tracks me.
Now we're at Stephen King bullies.
This is fucked up. And again, I'm like, it's a trope I'm kind of over. Like,
you can be fair, this wasn't as big of the trope at the time. Like,
yeah,
we hadn't seen it in a while.
And then it's even a movie I love, like Black Phone, doesn't go as hard as this does, but it also has those insanely violent child bullies. And you're like, Jesus Christ. Like, oh my God. And that's a great movie.
I liked it quite a bit. I don't know if I'd say great, but I liked it.
But yeah, this scene, like, I'm going to cut out your friend's teeth and you jump off a cliff. Like, I knew a lot of bullies in school. None with a tenth of this energy. Like, oh my God.
That was one thing I really loved about Spider-Man Homecoming. Their Flash feels like what a modern day Flash Thompson.
Thank you. God. Nice to agree with someone on that.
I think it gets worse in the sequels, but in that first movie.
I'm not saying I love that take on Flash Thompson. It's just like, yeah, that's just more what modern bullying is, especially in that environment, in those social circles. Like,
that looks really bad.
Oh yeah, some of the effects here wonky, but like in part of the period,
oh my God,
is we see one thing we've seen in previous episodes with these bullies is a lot of like teasing like calling Will gay or calling Mike gay, and it's like, if you read the room or are aware of modern culture, like, that's not gonna fly with most bullies in 2024. Most bullies aren't gonna be seen as cool or in with the popular kids if they're calling others gay. Like, that, we've shifted, and I also don't know how
I
many
also
kids
think
get
this goes a
stuffed in
little.
lockers anymore. Though when she snaps his arm, that's really satisfying.
He's still a kid.
Oh, fuck you! He just cut out his teeth and made a kid.
No, that is. No, I do. That was satisfying.
Yeah, she snapped. Also, now, if I'm gonna impart any degree of humanity onto that kid, I don't think he thought Mike was actually gonna jump. I thought he was gonna wuss out. I don't know what he would do after that, but I don't think he was thinking ahead. He's a stupid kid bully. But
yeah,
I don't think he actually thought Mike was gonna jump.
I don't think they would have gone full Stephen, like a full Stephen King bully would have actually done it.
Actually started cutting him, yeah. But lots of kids break their arms. It's rite of passage. It'd be fine. And again, there are scenes that I kind of like. The one in the gym when 11 makes that kid pee his pants. Like, I kind of like the scene, but I definitely don't like the setting where it's in the gym and assembly is just let off and suddenly all the adults have disappeared, and it's very contrived, where it's not a big deal, but that's a scene where it's like, at least put that scene outside somewhere, like away.
I'm also 90% sure this doesn't line up with the upside down stuff in the flashbacks in season 4.
I think it does. They just add to it, but we'll get that. I've just never watched this season and season 4 back to back to
Well, really now watch when we finally get there. I'll be like, I don't remember how it happened to season 1.
Exactly. I don't know if they sync up perfectly. I just don't think there's anything directly,
because the way it always played to me in season 4 is the first time they discover the upside down is when she sends him to the upside down on accident.
I don't remember.
Somebody who knows the show better than us, let us know in the comments below.
Well, because they also play with repressed memories. That's part of the problem. It's like what we're getting with 11 in this season are fragments, but then in season 4 it's established no, there's stuff 11 has forgotten. She has repressed memory. So that's kind of their out of maybe how she could be remembering things wrong, but I'm not saying it
remember
works.
Steve has the one more scene where he finally ditches his friends. And then he kind of disappears up until the finale, right?
I don't remember what episode it is, but we'll get to it. There's a scene where he goes to the theater to start cleaning the graffiti, which is a really good Steve moment.
That is a good scene. Well, I mean, nobody else is going to show him any empathy in the show.
But in that fight, though, Steve obviously crossed a line when he said, no wonder your brother disappeared, your family's shit. It's that's obviously crossing a line.
He did, but maybe. Also, to be fair, he was pushed to that degree,
from jumping to conclusions, though.
But again, even in that scene, he's practically begging Nancy to finish the sentence, tell him what's going on, and she still won't do it.
And then she just tries to walk away, because what the fuck else is she gonna do?
I don't know, tell him the truth? I don't think I'm that insane for wanting her to open up to the character that she's supposed to care about.
She's humiliated, it's awkward, and also his friends are right there who are spraying the graffiti.
So then just say, can we talk in private?
Yeah, it's just an awful, awkward, weird situation. And then Steve escalates it, and we see what happens. So, yeah, that's I'm going to guess your least favorite episode.
I think it is. All right, well, 1 second. That was season 1, episode 6. If you're watching this on the pre-recorded sections that we're doing, thank you for watching. Please consider hitting the subscribe button.